Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Bette and Julz. I'm Bette.
And I'm Julz.
And today we're going to talk about a fun little topic. You will notice that I'm wearing a ring, which it's really not mine, it's hers. This finger is vacant at the moment. So
And mine is not.
And hers is not. So just wanted to make that clear.
Jay's got both of my fingers covered.
Yes. Well, I was wearing that ring for the little picture that we did for the thumbnail, but it's not mine. So,
It's very pretty, by the way.
yes, I'm still single.
And she doesn't want to be.
Anyway,
We'll get there.
so today's topic, it's actually a fun one. We're going to be talking about saying I do and now you don't. So basically, she came across a post on Facebook, and it's funny because she brought up the topic and I had just seen a post on Facebook that made me think of the same thing. So we felt like that's the topic because we both had some good inspiration in that area.
And I want to say something about it because I have said I do and then I didn't several times. But most of the time, I knew that I shouldn't have said I do to begin with. And I think if we all get really honest and look at ourselves in the mirror, that would be the truth. And I even had, my mom, my sister, friends telling me not to do it. And I ignored all of that and swept all the red flags under the rug. And we become people in love with the idea of what it's going to be, but it ends up being what you already know the truth is.
Yep.
Always.
This is exactly what the lady was saying on Facebook. So this is her little story, and it was like a 60-second clip, so she said a lot in that time. She was talking about the day that she was walking down the aisle. She said she was so in love with the idea. And it was really the idea of the day. It wasn't even the idea of the marriage. It was the day. She had this incredibly beautiful custom gown that she said she was so in love with. She saw all of her family and friends, and they had, like she said, multiple hundred. So I don't know if that's 200, 300, but more than 100, right? Multiple hundreds.
Anything over 100 is a big wedding.
Yes, hundreds and hundreds of family and friends in the audience. And she's like, and I'm walking down the aisle and I'm looking at them. And she said, and God was telling me, as I'm walking down the aisle, God was telling her, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. She said she heard it multiple times as she's walking down the aisle. She did it anyway. And then she was talking about how she just, that never left her, that feeling, because it never went in the marriage the way she was hoping that it would, even though she knew it wouldn't. And that's what you just said. So this is the part where I feel like, I was married, obviously. We talk about this all the time. But I wanted to be married, and I didn't have that feeling of no, I shouldn't.
Yeah.
So, and truth be told, I'm going to spill something right here. I was engaged a different time before the person I married. Okay. I was engaged for a while, actually. I was super, super young, but I had that feeling of don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And what did I do? I called it off. And I had the venue. We had a deposit down on the venue. I had I had the wedding dress hanging in my bedroom. Yeah. And I called it off because it just didn't feel right. And I just knew it. And there's a point in time, I mean, I can remember this. This has happened to me in multiple areas, not just there, but even in other times in my life where you have like this anxiety and you feel like, the way that I felt was I was more afraid to go through with it than the fear and embarrassment of calling it off.
Yeah.
So
I get that.
Yeah. So I called it off. But I will tell you that.
But you didn't get back with him.
I did not get back with him.
I did. I called one off, gave it a year, and then I got back with him.
Yeah, no, I did not.
And my mom made me pay for my wedding dress.
Yeah.
The second time around.
Yeah. But in your case, this is the part that I find fascinating that I want to explore. So I have another friend too that I worked with, and she also told me the same thing that you said and that the lady said. You have this feeling of the wedding date is getting closer. Yep. You have purchased everything, the whatever, all the things. And the day of, you have this feeling that just won't escape you of like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Maybe there's what ifs in there, maybe whatever else it is. And she said, I couldn't get past the fear and the embarrassment of saying, no, I don't want to, because I let it go that far.
Yep.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, my first engagement, we had bought the dress. We had the church and the reception reserved. We had everything. We were meeting at my cousin's house to start addressing the invitations and get them mailed. We were 6 weeks out. Long time ago. We didn't do save the dates and all that a long time ago. We just mailed the invitation out. And I got to my cousin's house early, and we had a glass of wine. And I looked at her and I said, I don't want to do this. And she was like, oh, okay, your mom's on her way over, so we'll have a talk with her. And she said, she's not going to want you to do this if you don't want to. And so I look back and think about that girl that I was, and I wish that I had had that courage every single time. Because I'm on my 5th marriage. All 4 of my marriages prior to this one with Jay, I knew I shouldn't be doing it. I woke up the day of one of my weddings and looked at him and said, we shouldn't be doing this. He showed a substantial red flag the night before. And he did the classic 101 of that was just a reaction to the, building up to the day. And, it's a big commitment. And yeah, it is. And I knew that I shouldn't do it, but we had already moved me into his house, and I had moved my kids into a different school district. A lot had gone into it. Mm-hmm. And he brought all those emotions into it. And I went and I did it. And the thing about being in a marriage that you shouldn't be in is that you slowly start losing yourself. And, it's like this post I read, and it just so resonated with me that what you visualized as being this beautiful family and home and everything just really does end up being a drudgery. And it's a weight that is so heavy. And trust me, being a runaway bride is a lot less painful than having to deconstruct a home after years of living in something that you knew from the beginning you shouldn't be doing anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's the whole point of this conversation. And there can be no even real apparent reason. You're just not with your person. In my case, I married men who just weren't available, and they wanted to cram me into their mold of what they wanted me to be. And well, that's not true on all of them. One of them was a liar and an alcoholic, and one just, I don't even count the second one because it only lasted 6 weeks.
Well, he had a whole other series of issues.
He sure did. And I hope that he doesn't have those anymore. I don't know. Maybe I just drove him crazy. Maybe I drove these guys crazy. I don't know, but it didn't work. And I did go to 2 years of therapy to try to figure that out. And Jay and I we have moments of we've never had a fight, I don't think. I don't think we've ever had a fight. We've had conversations and differences of opinions that we've discussed. And there's been moments that he's rolled his eyes at me. There's been moments that he sighs. He's like, and he's going to laugh at this.
But at this stage, because of who you are and because of who he is, I don't expect you guys to be having yelling matches, slamming doors, F-bombing each other like that.
Well, if I was in one of my marriages, that's exactly what we would be doing at this age, because that was just the norm. And let me tell you, when you get into situations where you're doing that, you shrink. And I've told Bette this, and then I read it in that post. You can be laying in bed with someone and even touching each other, and you still feel like you're 6,000 miles away. You still feel so alone. And I don't know if there's anything worse than being all alone in a marriage. I don't know if there's anything. I mean, I've been single before, and I've had moments of loneliness when I was single. Mm-hmm. But begging someone to fit into your idea is lonely.
Absolutely, that's worse. Absolutely.
It's worse.
This is where I say, and I have said this many, many times before, I would rather be single forever.
Yeah.
I would rather be single forever, and I don't want to be single.
No.
But my point is, I would rather be single forever than to be married to the wrong person who makes me feel like, number one, that I have to carry him, or that I feel like I'm on an island because we're not able to
Or that you're just
connect.
begging for.
Oh, yeah, the begging, all of that. All of the things that make you feel lonely when you're with somebody, absolutely not, would never, not interested.
No,
not interested. No, because there's a level of freedom, there's a level of self-love and respect that you have for yourself, and you don't want to put yourself in that situation. And when you're single, when you're healthy single.
Yes.
When you're healthy single, you can have an amazing life. I have a great life. I just traveled the world. I get to do so many amazing things. My sister and I, we have this conversation, and it's me, my sister, and we have a separate group. We're all single girls, and we do really fun things for each other. We look out for each other. We have really great adventures together. We go on vacation. We belong to different groups. There are things that you can do to really still have a full life.
Yes.
And to not feel like you're lonely or missing out on something.
Well, you don't want to, I can tell you one of the worst feelings is going to bed and feeling like you're in a pressure cooker because you got to put out.
Yeah.
With some,
Eat that frog, Julz.
Sex. I don't want.
It was on her to-do list.
And that is when you know that you've
That's when you know. Let me tell you.
Problem.
That's when that is when you know you have a problem, because for those of us that really do enjoy it,
yes.
If you get to the point where you don't want it,
there's something wrong.
No, yeah, you don't want it with that person. It's not that you don't want it,
right?
So that is, I can't even imagine. Like, I can't imagine.
Well, you can.
I've been there, done that. I can't imagine, but it wasn't on my to-do list.
That's when things really start cracking.
Yeah.
And you know that you don't.
You don't.
You don't.
You no longer do.
Here's the deal, is that when you get to that point, we were talking about this earlier, I don't even feel like I left my marriages. I feel like he left them a long time before I made the decision. When I said I do, I meant it.
Yeah.
I don't think that he did.
Yes. Okay.
He didn't.
Yes. Okay. Good point. This brings us to now the other way of looking at this. So the first way is when you said I do, when you knew you shouldn't.
Right.
When you knew that something felt wrong.
Yeah.
So that is one way. The other way, which is my experience, is I said I do without hesitation. I did. We were still very young and we didn't know what the hell we were doing. But we both said I do without hesitation. Now here's where the difference for me that I think ended up driving us apart. We had very different values and beliefs of what we thought marriage was supposed to be and who we were supposed to be for each other.
What your roles were in the marriage.
So we were screwed up from day one. So again, no hesitation on saying the I do, but you can't say I do to somebody and then realize later that, we don't have the same idea as far as where we want our lives to go and end up ultimately, because that's going to crash and burn too. Hello, example right here. So for me, I would say the thing that became very difficult for me towards the end of my marriage is the fact that it should have ended sooner.
Yeah, always.
And I tried to death grip it. By now we had children. By now we're like close to the...
Well, then it's just an obligation.
Yes. Now we're close to 20 years, right? Well, by the time that you start thinking about all the things that you've done together, the lives that you've built together, the children, the history, everything that you think about, now you feel like, for me, because I said I do, now I felt like now I'm obligated to stay. Now I don't have a way out because I believe in marriages.
Yes.
And I believe in the commitment that I made. So now I can't leave.
Right.
So what that did for me probably the last 4 or 5 years of my marriage was I lost myself.
Oh, yeah.
I got that was the heaviest I'd ever been in my life. I was really unhappy.
She was a workaholic.
I was a total workaholic. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I was a total workaholic, although
That was your escape.
It was my escape. Although I've always been an overachiever and will continue to be because that's just who I am. But I started pouring myself into anything that allowed me to be away from
That's the other thing.
The marriage.
That's the other thing that Facebook post was talking about that resonated with me. It's like you spend extra time in the grocery store. You set out in your car a few extra minutes just to have some peace.
Yep.
And it's terrible.
Yeah, you're right. I remember feeling like at the time we worked together. We were together at a company, and I had a very demanding job. I had a really large territory and a lot of offices. I had a lot of people on my team. We had a lot.
It was magic.
But it was awesome.
It was magic.
Probably one of the things that I'm still most proud of, what we were able to accomplish at that time, because it was really awesome. And I still have a lot of great relationships from that time.
Oh, yeah.
But at that time, I remember my job was really demanding, but I think I made it to myself even more demanding because of my time commitment.
Yeah, I remember one afternoon you had just gotten back from a sales trip. I think you had gone up to the Panhandle or something, and the weather was, which it always is, awful up there.
Oh, it was yes. I remember
grew
that trip.
up there,
Horrible.
and it's definitely has a beauty all its own, but it's very volatile, the weather. And she had been up there, and the wind was blowing really hard. She came into the office, and she just had a look on her face that I hadn't seen before. She was drained, and I remember looking at her, and I said, we've got to put some boundaries around this. You're about to burn out.
Well, not only was that trip absolutely horrendous, that trip, but aside from that, I remember, when you talk about like driving home and taking an extra 5 minutes or whatever, I remember going on my way home and thinking about dread. If I was busy doing work things, if I was busy solving problems, fixing everything like I did for everybody else, if I was doing all that stuff, I was in my happy place.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't having to think about what was going on there.
Right.
As soon as I'm driving home and I know what I'm about to encounter when I get home in the next 5 or 10 minutes, now I start kind of sinking.
Yeah.
And feeling like, what do I do now? It was a very uncomfortable, very difficult time in my life that lasted, I would say if I think back, a good solid 4 years. And let me tell you, we just had an episode right before this one where we talked about saying yes.
Yeah.
We talked about taking the leap of faith, having the amazing adventure and opportunities that fall on your lap that feel like, oh my gosh, the stars are aligning and I got to do X, Y, or Z, or something is presented to you. And we say, yeah, go do it. Go do it if it lights you up. Go do it if you're excited about it and all that. This conversation is about you saying no. It's about you saying no to protect yourself.
Yeah, and I think
before everything goes down the shitter.
That's
beforehand.
Yeah, and that's the point I want to make. The irony of my life is that I am not an advocate for divorce.
Right.
Even though I've been divorced 4 times. It's not something I'm proud of, but I'm taking my mess and using it as my message to hopefully prevent someone, because if you get married, I mean, I feel like at that point, you've got to earn your divorce.
Yep.
And there's got to be a reason. A biblical reason is that there's been adultery in the marriage. Abuse is, I believe, an absolute reason to get out. I believe that we are daughters of our Creator. And if you think about your dad and how he would respond if he knew a guy was verbally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially, sexually, any kind of abuse, What would your earthly father do? Most earthly fathers. My dad would have killed him and then gone to the police station and said, I killed him. And said, I'm going to be in jail for the rest of my life. We don't have to have a trial or anything. I did it. Just give me my time.
So not only ask yourself the question, what would my father do? Right? If you have a father like hers, like, let's put some, context
Now, he did
around
die
that.
when I was 14,
Yes.
but I know he was a protector.
But if your dad was a protector and a provider, and if you have the idea of your dad that, he would want the best for you.
Right.
So in most cases, your dad wants the best for you. Would your dad want that for you? That's question number one. Question number two is, would you ever want that for your daughter?
Gosh, no.
Because if you don't want it for your daughter, then why do you want it for you?
No.
Why wouldn't you think, and believe me, this is me. This is me talking to myself. Back then, I didn't ask myself those questions, which is why things got out of hand and went on longer than they should have. Because I was suffering from a lack of self-love, self-awareness, self-respect, all of these things. So the conversation now is, don't put yourself in a position to have to then endure this pain and loneliness, because let me tell you right now, 100% true. I know you're going to totally agree to this. 100% true. If you go into it already knowing that you should, I don't care how long you think you can try to fool yourself, it will never get better. You're never going to get to the place where 10 years, 20 years, even if you try to outrun yourself, believe me, it will never. If you knew from day one, if you knew that that was not your person, that it didn't sit well, that you felt this nudging intuition, which is, she calls it the Holy Spirit, you can call it the universe, you can call it God, you can call it your intuition, whatever you want to call it, your gut, whatever.
But we all have a feeling.
We all have a feeling.
We do.
And so that's the thing. If you already had the feeling and you saw red flags and you knew going in, I don't think you can ever correct it. I just don't believe that you can make something right when you knew it was wrong all along.
Yeah. You can have moments of awesomeness, but then you have moments of terribleness. I don't know if that's a word, but things that are really bad. And by then you've got probably some brain trauma. What's that called? Is it called brain trauma?
I don't know the technical term.
I mean, in some relationships, the abuse or the treatment can become very addicting or addictive, and then you...
Well, that's the whole trauma bond thing.
It is. That's the trauma bond, and it's so hard. My doctor told me that it was like getting off of...
Heroin.
Heroin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing that I want to stress the most in this conversation is to go and get yourself whole. Be whole. Enjoy the years in your 20s. Jay has told all my boys that, and he's saying this from a male perspective, this is the time of your life when all you have to do is take care of yourself. When you get a wife, when you have children, it's heavy. It's heavy to a man who takes that responsibility seriously.
Very good point. Very good point.
Because you could be with a man
who doesn't.
And I've had a man who was a great provider financially, but that was it. That was it. And then he became an item on my to-do list. I usually got it done pretty early in the week, so I could carry on without thinking about that. And that is just not fun.
No.
And you don't want to be married.
Who wants to live like that?
You don't want to be married to someone who you don't know who's going to walk through the door. Is it Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde?
Right.
And then you and your kids and the dog and everybody are walking around on eggshells because you don't know if it's going to be good guy or bad guy. And both of those create tension in a home. And You may think you're hiding it from your kids, but you're not. You
Yeah.
are.
Oh, no.
You're inducing them with their childhood trauma right then and there. And then you've got that mess to deal with down the road.
Yeah, even if they don't know the details of everything going on, there's an energy in the home that they feel. This is absolutely
and you can live in
true.
the most beautiful home.
It doesn't
and you can
matter.
drive all the most beautiful cars, and you can have the biggest swimming pool. But if that marriage isn't lined up,
They know it.
it doesn't matter.
Yep.
It does not matter.
Yep.
And then you've wasted those years of your life, and then you're still going to have to go and get yourself well and to a place of being 100% before you're ready to start looking for your true love.
Yep.
And if you're not well, you won't recognize them because you're going to be lonely, and you're just going to want a warm, you're going to think that the warm body is him. And that euphoric stage is very delusional.
Yeah. Well, but the euphoric stage is what that lady was talking about on Facebook.
Yeah.
Is you fall in love with the vision, the idea, what you think it's going to be, but it's really not the reality of it. Like, who is that person today?
Yeah.
And is that person aligned with who you are? And is the future, are you both walking in the same direction of where you want to be going, right? Because so again, forget about the I do for 1 second.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to get really clear. Episode 7, the list.
Yes.
I think it's really important to get really, really clear. We can avoid all of this. And here's the thing. If you are married right now, you have a situation that I think, if you're married and you don't want to be, that's a tricky one, because now I believe that
But you don't have the right to get a divorce just because you don't feel like being married anymore.
Well, but that's why I say it's tricky, because I think you need to look at your situation. I think you need to figure out, if you can have an open conversation, if your current spouse is somebody that has a level of
emotional
intelligence, some good communication skills, if they have a level of compassion and grace and love for you and the family, I think that there could still be a way to have a conversation where you could still, the whole phrase is the conscious uncoupling.
Yeah.
I think there's a way to do it where there's still love and respect. You can do it in a way where you can communicate it and figure out if that's the right direction.
Yeah.
The problem is most people aren't mature enough to handle that conversation.
Well, and I think a lot of couples get caught up in the busyness of being young parents and working, and just the kids' schedules with baseball and dance and whatever else you've got going on outside of that. And you have to make room for your marriage.
Right.
And
the marriage takes the back burner at that point.
It does, always. Yeah. And sometimes our kids graduate, when they're 18, and you end up sitting there looking at your spouse going, who are you? I don't even know you anymore.
And that's actually when a lot of divorces happen.
It is.
As soon as the kids
and that's
are
right
out,
when you're getting to the good part.
Right, that's what you say.
Yeah.
You have always said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't made that yet, but Jay and I, our kids were, well, Richie hadn't graduated yet, and we went through that together. And it is a whole lot different when you are married with adult children versus babies. And I loved being a mother. I just could roll around on the floor with my kids, and I could just lick them. Mm-hmm. I just loved them. And I probably could still do that with them. They would think it was really weird, but I just love having all the kids over. It's wonderful. And Jay and I have truly accepted each other's kids for the love that we have for each other. And they're our kids. We are fully blended now. But you need to step back and make sure that you're taking care of the marriage. You don't just get a divorce.
Yeah.
after you've walked down the aisle, whether you knew it or not.
Well, you say that, and while I do believe that, marriage is not supposed to be a throwaway thing that you just got tired of, so you wanted to get rid of it. I definitely agree with you on that, but that's really not the reality. And
it's not, but I think if a lot of couples dug into that and they could be honest, there are things going on outside of the marriage that do qualify for a divorce.
That's true. The other thing I'm going to say is that if you can be really honest and think about what we're saying right now, if you know that you don't anymore, if you know that the marriage is heading in a direction where it's on, like, what is that, life support, right? There are a couple things that you can do. I do believe that if you both still want to be in the marriage, if you both still actually want to figure out a way to bring it back to life, I think that that's doable only if both partners are willing and able participants, if they want to do that. But this is where I see, we see this. This is where I see, and we have seen this with a lot of our other like friendships and their relationships, is that when things start happening, when things start crumbling, for example, when affairs start happening, when conversations are no longer about us, it's now about me. And you as a married person are acting like a single person. That's not going in the right direction. And what's going to end up happening?
If there are affairs going on, I would get out.
Oh, I would totally, yes.
Get out.
But here's the thing. It starts with distance. It starts with this person saying, oh, I want to go do this on my own.
Yeah.
Or now, it's okay to have me time. We've talked about this. It's okay to have something, whether they're like hobbies or fun things that you like to do.
You have to have your individuality.
You have to have your, but there is a difference when it starts to feel like you're drifting apart and you're living two separate lives.
Yeah.
And so this is when people have affairs and everybody acts like it's a big shocker. I promise you it's not a shock.
No, it's not a shocker.
Because if you go back and figure out, look at what was really going on and be really, really honest of what was going on prior to that affair, the marriage was already over. It was already over.
Yep.
And this is where the communication, the respect for each other, this is where all of it just really dropped down to nothing because the communication was gone.
Well, I've always said that, and I don't specify which marriage I'm talking about, but I actually was the one who initiated the divorce in all of my marriages. But I can assure you that the man left way before I was.
Right.
I was not even on fumes anymore by the time I said, I'm out. I threw the towel in and just, I would rather be alone, period.
Yeah.
I'm a codependent, and being alone used to hurt me. It was just physically painful for me to be alone. And, but I would, and so with that, I would still rather be alone because I learned to meditate on I trust you, Jesus, and he pulled me through, and I found an incredible therapist. You've got to be really careful if you're having struggles in your marriage and you're going to a therapist. Again, if there's abuse, if there's adultery, there's things that
abuse is not only physical.
No,
mental, financial, emotional,
sexual.
Yep.
And sometimes I think verbal abuse is worse than physical. That's a fine line because I've experienced both, and I don't want anybody out there to take that wrong. But verbal gets into your head. Physical does too. But I had therapists tell me that I needed to figure it out and I needed to stay in the marriage. And then I found the therapist that I asked God to help me find. And he was like, nope, you are God's daughter. And I assure you that God does not want you treated this way. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah, I
was already out by the time I found him, but it took me multiple times because of the trauma bond, and don't put yourself in that situation.
Yep. So again, back to the very beginning, because this, honestly, so much can be avoided if you're actually paying attention. If you pay attention to how you feel, if you pay attention to what is the outcome that you're looking for, and does this person match that? Do they qualify? Because I will tell you right now, I follow a lot of really great, whether they're dating coaches or therapists or gurus or whatever. But I will tell you, listening to people like John Deloney and Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins and Danny Morell and Preston Smiles, all of these guys, they are really good, solid, masculine men. Mm-hmm. And what I think is important is that you, as a woman, you want that. You want a solid masculine man. You don't want a man who doesn't know who he is. He's lost. He wants to go. He wants to be basically your roommate. He's wanting you to carry him. He wants princess treatment. A man's role, I think, for me, when you think about marrying that person.
Yeah.
And you find that partner.
Our timer went off, just FYI.
Okay, I'm going to complete my thought and then you can jump in. But for me, when I think about being matched with that person, with all of the characteristics and traits and all of those things, that person to me is so valuable. Oh. That person to me is so rare. That person to me would be such an amazing compliment. Mm-hmm. And I should say it the other way around, because I actually do believe that the woman is supposed to be the helper.
Absolutely.
And so I, knowing who I am and knowing what I am capable, what I've done, what I've accomplished, all of those things, I think about myself as being such a great partner and helpmate to that person. Yep. And that person would find me just as valuable. Yep. If you're in a relationship and you don't understand the roles, if you don't understand how each of you is supposed to be in partnership, not competing against each other, not one-upping each other, not being jealous of each other, if you can find that person that makes you better, you make them better, they make you better, because you're great at different things.
Yeah, it's about
because
love
your role is different.
Yeah, it's about
love
not the
same.
And respect.
Yep.
Women want to be loved, men want to be respected.
Yeah.
So I mean that's the scriptural prescription for marriage is love and respect. And this morning, I was telling you earlier, we've got a dog that we've had where we love him. He's the sweetest dog in the world, but he started having seizures. And
it's so sad.
They think he's got a brain tumor, but not the point of that. I was telling my sister about it this morning, and she said, well, you're very blessed because you've got a good man who is going to help, who's going to take care of this and take care of you through it.
Yep.
And that is music to my ears, coming from someone like my sister or a good girlfriend that knows my husband, Jay, and that he is just a guy who he takes charge, but it's not with control and manipulation.
Right.
It's out of protection, and he did. I asked. We had to take the dog in to the ER this morning, and I said I'll call Bette and cancel, and he was like, absolutely not. I've got this. You go. I'll keep you updated. Nothing's going to happen today except maybe get him on medications, which is exactly what they did. He's completely healthy. His blood work came back fine. So they're pretty. I mean, he's older, and brain tumors in labs is common. So we'll see how this plays out, and there may be tears if something bad happens.
Yeah. But I will give a shout out to Jay. I mean, because, and her dog is a very sweet dog. I've been around him a lot, and I know how much you guys love him. But shout out to Jay, because Jay is the type of guy, I don't worry about stuff for her, because I know that Jay is the guy that will always take care of her.
Yeah.
He takes care of all the stuff.
He does.
And that's what you want. That's what I want. That's important. That's important.
And I try to take care of his stuff too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well,
yeah. I mean, it's absolutely 100% reciprocated from both of us. You've got to show up 100% whole, each side.
Yep.
And then your mind clears up. You know it. There's no doubts.
This is the kind of stuff that you have talked about this before. If you're dating, if you're the day before the wedding, if you are faced with a situation where something happens with your partner and you feel like you are on an island and you don't feel protected and you feel like you're just out there hanging out on your own and you haven't married him yet,
If you hate the way it feels that night,
For God's sakes, don't marry him.
wait until you're 5 years in, 10 years in, and then see what that isolation feels like.
Because what I'm saying is you haven't even had a challenge yet.
No.
You haven't even had something happen to you for you to feel like you're already on an island when you are in a relationship. If your person isn't the one that you want to go into battle with, be done.
It's
End
better.
of story. Rip the Band-Aid off.
Go watch that movie with Julia Roberts, The Runaway Bride.
I've never watched that movie.
It's really good. It's good, and I should have been the runaway bride multiple times, and I knew. We're trying. We're. I don't know that we're simplifying this, but we want to shake you.
Yeah, we
and
are trying to
say,
simplify.
Snap out of it. Snap out of it. Don't do it. If you have any hesitation at all, a nudging, anything, postpone it. You don't have to break up with them even. You can keep dating them and see how it goes
I
along.
wouldn't. But
I wouldn't either.
For what?
But if you want to soften the blow, I don't know. I'm just trying to.
But I do agree with you. I do agree with you. If you haven't said I do yet and you feel like I don't, have that conversation sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
If you've already said I do and you're feeling like I don't, not so much anymore, I think have a conversation. I think it's so important because what's going to end up happening if you don't have a conversation early on to figure out what are we doing, what does this look like, where do we want to take this?
Yeah.
If you're not having that conversation early on to catch it, it's going to get really bad. It's going to get really ugly, and it's going to be far worse
It's awful.
to try to save anything.
It's awful. It's awful. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to say it again. It's awful.
Okay, well, sorry to be downers today.
I don't think we're downers.
No, this is supposed to be good news.
Yeah.
The good news here is supposed to be honest with yourself.
Yes,
because
listen to your gut.
Yes, you deserve love. You also deserve self-love. You also deserve self-respect. You also deserve to listen to your intuition and to be able to create a life that is awesome for yourself and for the people around you. Not full of misery, not full of regret, not full of pain and loneliness.
And let me tell you, there's a big difference, and I know what I'm talking about, in being married to the wrong guy and then having the opportunity to be married to the right guy. Yeah. There aren't enough words to describe the difference.
Yep. And by the way, in the words of Steve Harvey, I'll give him a shout out. In the words of Steve Harvey, he gave a really great analogy about a car on blocks. And I think you remember this. And really the gist is the longer you hold on to the wrong one, the right one can't come in. Mm-mm. And so he gave this whole little analogy about he had a car on blocks on his driveway, and he kept telling his mom he was going to get, I'm getting a new car. I'm getting a new car. I'm so excited. I'm getting a new car. And his mom was saying, but you still have that old one on blocks. And again, remember this?
Yep.
And then he would come in the next day. I'm so excited. I'm getting a new car. And his mom said again, but you still have that old one on blocks. And so her whole thing was, you haven't prepared to receive the right one because you're still entangled with the wrong one.
Yep.
And so he finally understood what it was that she was trying to say. He got rid of that car. He cleaned the driveway. He threw away the blocks. He cleaned out the oil stains. He actually tells the story. He cleaned everything up, and then he walked in and told his mom, I'm getting that car. I'm so excited I'm getting that car. And she said, I know you will. And what did he do? He got the new car. He got the car because he prepared himself.
Yep.
He made room to receive the right one, the new car. So that the longer you hold on to the old one, you're not giving yourself room to receive the new one.
Yeah, you're not available.
You're not available. Yeah.
You can't even think.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, I'm off my rant right now. Okay, so thank you everybody for watching. We have a comment section below, and we would love for you to either give us some feedback if you have some questions, or let us know topics that you would like for us to cover. We also have an email address if you would like to have a more, private offline conversation, and that's hello@bettyandjulz.com, BETTE
and JULZ.
And if you have not subscribed, please do. And if you have, thank you so much.
You.
We appreciate you. Keep watching. There are more episodes, and there's more to come. So stay connected to us, and we will see you all on the next one.
Bye.
Bye.